So I will now open the meeting and I'll start with agenda item 1. I will ask for apologies for absences, please. Either Tony or Georgia, please.
No apologies.
Lovely, thank you. Agenda item 2, disclosure of interest. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interest and interest other than pecuniary interest as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act of 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. No, thank you. Item 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with relevant legislation and Seaford Town Council policy. So members of the public, if you could please raise your hand. So we have Keith Blackburn. Anybody else? Councillor Olivia Honeyman. Any other members of the public? Oh, Tony Coe. Anyone else? And Charlie. And anyone else can I see? Oh, and somebody called David.
David Bott.
Take you in the order of the raised hands. Is that everybody? Okay, so I'd like to start with Keith Blackburn. Keith.
Trying to unmute. There we are.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Yes, yep. Hello, Keith. Good evening.
Hi. I'm Keith Blackburn, Chairman of the Seaford Community Partnership, and I'd just like to support the excellent paper prepared by Tony for item 6. People coming new to the agenda could be forgiven for thinking this is a minor matter, not all that important, but it is important. 85% of the people who replied to a questionnaire in the neighbourhood plan said that the town should encourage tourism. This gate is part of the Gateway project to encourage visitors who come to the seafront to go into the town centre and hopefully spend some money. And that's the key thing that it's trying to do. The project is supported by Impact Seaford that Sylvia currently chairs, and it's the developing regeneration strategy for Seaford. The community partnership is project managing the project. The Chamber of Commerce is funding the project. Seaford Rotary one of the members has made the gate, and Seaford Rotary is funding that. So the project involved cooperation by lots of different local authorities and environment agency and so on. And in addition to all that, it also helps the disabled. So there are so many arguments in favour of it. So I'd like to strongly support Tony's excellent paper. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Tony, did you want to add anything at this point, or shall I just move on?
Give you to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the next.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Just to let you know, Toby Moorish would also like to say something at the public participation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just write that down. Okay. Well, I have Tony Coe next, please.
Yes, good evening to you. I have already sent an email round, which I know that Adam has passed on to all the councillors. So whether I need to add anything to that at this particular moment in time, that was regards to 131 report 131/20. Whether I need to add anything to it, I don't know. It's all on the email, so I'll leave it up to the councillors.
Yeah, but if you want to say anything, you'll have to say it at this part of the meeting. You won't be able to do it when we discuss that item. So you'll have to say it now if you wish to speak on it.
No, I think if the council could really concentrate on that email, I think some really relevant points in there, particularly to the wildlife, the sea life, protecting Seaford and particularly the seals, the dolphins and the bird life. Those are the extremely relevant parts of the email, and I think it would be nice if the council could take a very, very strong, protracted look at those matters, because I think it's important when it comes to sea sports, jet skis and all the rest of it. So I can only ask the council to consider those in great detail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on, Charlie Grimble. Good evening, Charlie.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you very much indeed. This project, which is item 10 on your agenda, Ouse Valley and Tide Mills Nature Reserve project, has been developed from ideas that have come together over the past 3 years. Chair, you'll remember that you were instrumental in getting Tide Mills into the draft neighbourhood plan as a local green space. And despite it being turned down by the inspector, there are always many ways around a mountain, and this is the next way.
Okay. Charlie, just to let you know that at item 10, we was going to allow you to bring another introduction at the actual item.
Well, in that case, I will say no more. I will deal with it.
And then I can suspend standing orders, and because of the community project, you can answer some questions from councillors if need be.
Adam Chuck did explain that to me, and I've forgotten. A senior moment.
Okay, no worries, Charlie.
Thank you.
Item 10. Thank you very much. I now have somebody called David. David, if you could unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. It's Dr. David Bott. I've written to council members, but I'd just like to take a brief moment. I don't take up people's time because I know you've got a busy agenda. Just to make some brief bullet points on the longer letter that I wrote. I'm speaking to item 9, and we've been a beach hut owner now for some 3 years, and we've very much enjoyed the experience. We've had this. But the original offer, the original proposal was for unsport tranquility. And we now learn that there's a bid for jet skis. Now, there is reference to minimising noise and pollution, and there are suggestions of time limits on activities, but that itself implies that there will be noise and pollution. So just to make the bullet points, our objection is on the basis of noise and pollution, which is going to spoil the tranquility of our experience. That jet skis are inherently and demonstrably dangerous, and also have the potential to be harmful for wildlife, and they really have no place in Seaford Bay, in my view. I know that people can come in there independently, but now we're looking at a government-supported, a council-supported activity. And also significantly, it's out of keeping with the unique seaside experience of Seaford. I mean, it's the joy of that stretch from Splash Point through to the nature reserve has no place for the kind of brush activities which have a welcome absence in Seaford. So you've had a longer letter, but that's just to make my core points. My main concern is about the policing of the activities. They take place in weekends, and we've had a bank holiday experience, and I don't suggest it's anything to do with this company, I've got no idea who it was, where someone set themselves off to take people out on jet skis towed on rubber rings going up and down. It was very disturbing, and I think actually extremely dangerous. So I'll pipe down now. You've got a long agenda. Thank you very much for your attention, everybody, and thank you, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. And I have somebody called Toby Morris, please.
Hi, you're right. So it's me and Paddy here. We're Skipper Water Sports. We've been down at, this is regarding to item 9, down on the beach for 2 years. Obviously, we couldn't do last year. And it's just with regards to the jet skis. Now, what we want to stress is it wouldn't be a case of, people getting these jet skis and going up and down along the beach. What it would be a guided tour along with our safety boat along to the Seven Sisters and then back. And we can't stress enough that the jet skis that we would use are eco. So they're the most eco skis that you can get on the market, and they're also restricted to 25 miles per hour. So this wouldn't be a case of people just getting the jet skis and going out. It would be a case of it's a guided tour, it's a safari, and that's to go and enjoy the views. So we can't stress that enough. And obviously we'd be happy to do a trial period so people could see that. Also, before people go on it, they have a 20-minute lesson on how to use it safely, etc. And there'll be strict instructions that they have to stay within the proximity of our boat. And they would never actively be on a ski in the Boyd area. The skis would be set out far enough outside the area, and they'd be taken by us to outside the Boyd area, and that's where the safari would begin. So yeah, that's kind of our proposal. And you know, we agree, we don't want to ruin, you know, the tranquility of Seaford Beach. And you know, we want to keep it in keeping, but we want to create Seaford to be a place where people can come for water sports, bring people to the town. Obviously, we've been very busy there for the last 2 years, and we just want to bring more. We work with Maverick Water Sports, who do the wakeboarding and stuff like that, and there's no issues with that. And what we're offering is something similar to what's already there. So, and thank you, Tony and Sharon, for kind of letting us be here and put our proposal forward. We've both got over 10 years each experience in the water sports, so we kind of know what we're doing, and we just want to bring it to Seaford. And with the COVID and everything that's happening, people are going to want more stuff to do in the UK, and you know, that's what we want to do. We want to bring stuff to the beach.
Okay, thank you, Toby. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Councillor Olivia Honeyman, yes, I did see your hand raised.
Thank you. I was going to speak on item 8, but shall I speak now or at actually item 8?
No, can we speak at the actual item 8? Yeah, lovely. Okay. Thank you. And just to say, I'm sorry, David, I won't be able to allow you a further question to this. I'm sorry.
I understand. Thank you, Councillor Dunn.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the public participation. And now moving on, we have item 4, which is Projects and Facilities Managers Update Report. So if I could now before I open up to the committee, if I could hand over to Tony, if there's any extras to be discussed or anything you'd like to say, Tony.
Thank you, Chair. I'll run through a couple of bits. Firstly, the Salts tennis courts. So
yes,
really pleased that we're successful in getting a further £40,000 grant from SIL, from the grant, SIL grant, which is fantastic. It means that we can really push the project on. We obviously we've got a report coming up later about the operating models, but we'll be looking to get the final piece of the jigsaw, if you like, the loan from the LTA, hopefully approved at the full council meeting on the 18th of March, where we'll be taking a report in. So we're all pretty excited about that. It's a great project. Just moving down to the Martello Toilets and Cafe, our favourite subject. So yes, so we have a meeting with the lottery case officer on the 11th of February. Town clerk will be coming along to that as well, and just hope we're going to have some sort of updates after that. Really, we're certainly going to try and start pinning down some time frames to it, because obviously this has really rumbled on for a long time now. I mean, you know, the great thing is we're still sort of in the game. We've got a chance where, you know, we're still up for possibly for funding, because there's lots of occasions now where we could have been turned down, but we haven't been. So in that way, it's looking good, but in the other way, it's just been going on for such a long time. So hopefully we'll have a better understanding after that meeting. Bonningstead Beach Huts have continued going very well. We sold another one this week. We have only 2 left to sell now, and 1 rented, which is great news. It's been our best year this year, which is fantastic. Yeah. The seasonal short-term huts, concession huts, planning's in at the moment with Lewis, and it's going to their committee meeting in March. So hopefully we'll have a decision then. Water refill stations, have we not gone into lockdown, they would have been installed by now, which is a real pity, but as soon as we're out of lockdown, they'll be installed. And I'd say officers, particularly Emily, has worked really hard to get every single one sponsored, which is fantastic news. And all that sponsorship money will be kept back for the upkeep of each water station.
Sorry, can I just add something at that point? Because Councillor Brett had emailed me regarding why there was the delay. And I remember at our meeting, you said it was because the contractor, under the COVID restrictions, wasn't going to come in and do the work. So that was the main reason.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let the committee know and let Councillor Brett know that that was the reason for the delay.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
All right, thanks, Tony. Yeah.
Yes, just moving down the external grants. So as I said, we've had two since the last meeting: the 40,000 for the tennis project and 903 from the Cliff Trust for the Christmas Magic Stargazing, which still went ahead even though we didn't do Christmas Magic. And I think that's about it, really. We got the ice cream tender coming in next week for Bonningstat. So we should have a new concession in there in April, full electric one, which will be really good. And that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tony. Before I open up to the committee, I have one question. 1.7, Tony, the concession, the new fresh fish concession was there last year. Are they planning to come back, or have you not heard anything?
We think so.
All right. Okay. So there's a bit of a question mark on that.
Yes. We hope so. That they had a good couple of months. They were down there last year, and it seemed to be very popular. So it would be good if they, if they come back. So. Okay. All right. Lovely.
Okay. I'd like to open up to the committee. If you'd like to ask Tony of any questions, please. No. Oh, Councillor Walraven.
Thank you, Chair. Just with all the emails we've had this week, I just want to ask Tony about the Bond Street wall, the sea defence wall. I know the beach hut owners are very concerned about, like children running, if it's a flat surface, running on top, and also the public sitting on it. And as we know, when walls are, constantly being sat on, it sort of weakens them. Is there, is it going to be a flat surface, or will it be, sort of angled?
Okay, thank you, Chair. The design, it is designed as being a flat surface. It's a gabion wall with a flat capping on top of it. This design has been the same for the last 18 months or so, and it's the one that was agreed by the Environment Agency and the one that they gave us a flood risk permit for. And to get a flood risk permit is hard work. What I have said is I will go back to the designers and see whether some sort of angled top can be is possible. I believe that the capping that they were going to use was off the shelf, so if we are looking for some sort of angled top, then it'll probably push the price up. I don't know yet. So yes, I'm happy to look into it, but unless we're going to go back to square one, which I really don't want to, that's the design of the wall. It's not going to be the most comfy wall to sit on, really, even with a metal bit on the top of it. And there are lots and lots of seats, benches, which are far more comfortable either side of the huts. So, so we shall see.
And it's also sort of with those, it's not easy for youngsters to run along either, is it?
I suppose youngsters could run along anything, really. I mean, it's they could run along the wall along the seafront. It's
which they do.
Hopefully their parents are around and they don't do it too often. But no, that's these things weren't brought up 18 months ago so much when the design was agreed and shared with people, yeah, and that's what we've got really at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. I just
all right. Thank you, Councillor Walraven. Have I got anybody else? Any councillors got any more questions? Councillor Honeyman. Good evening.
Thank you. I'm a non-committee member, so thank you for letting me speak. Just a quick question on the Christmas Magic, because of obviously it got cancelled in 2020. All the work that went on for preparing the Crouch Gardens and so on, when will you know roughly when if the event will be down Broad Street or it'll be held at the Crouch after all? And maybe it's a trial year. Is there any timetable of that at the moment, or is that too early to say?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Honeyman. Tony, have you got a reply?
It's too early to say at the moment. It is the short answer. But I was talking to Sharon today, who's the officer that oversees the event, and if we do still have COVID restrictions of any sort, then the Crouch Gardens is the best place for it, because we can easily manage it. We'll have an in and out, and we can have a through flow of people attending. But on top of that, long term, it might be the best place for it. And what we want to do is survey the shops in the town and find out what their thoughts are. Because I know some of them just don't like Christmas magic in the town, and some of them do. So it'd be good to gauge their feeling on it really as well.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Right, do I have any other councillors wishing to speak on Tony's report? Can't see any hands up. Okay, so the committee is recommended to note the contents of the report. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hayder. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. So I do apologise. Thank you, Linda.
Nice to see. Thank you, Tony. What you're doing. Nice to see the Martello toilet project is live again. We hope something will happen this year after going what's happening last few years. And plus, it's nice to see 5 water refill station is happening in Seaford. Is nice, good news for especially in summertime. Thank you, Tony.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hayder. So make sure I've not missed anybody else. No, right. So could I please have a proposer and seconder to note the contents of the report, please? So I've got Councillor Hayder, thank you, and Councillor Meek as seconder. All those in favour to note the contents of the report? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 5, we have Community Services Finance Report to the 31st of December 2020 to inform the Community Services Committee of Income and Expenditure up to the 31st of December 2020. Tony, do you wish to say anything on this report, or Georgia, or do I just move to the committee for questions?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy that it's self-explanatory. There's no big surprises on there.
Lovely.
So.
Right, okay, thank you, Tony. So could I move to the committee if you do have any questions for Tony regarding this report, please? Linda, you still got your hand up. Do you wish to come forward?
We're saying that I will propose that we note the report if nobody has got any questions.
Lovely. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Everton, thank you very much. All those in favour to note the contents of the report? Lovely, that's carried. So we now have agenda item 6. We have the Stormgate Seaford Promenade to present information about the installation, operation and management of a storm gate on Seaford Promenade. I mean, this report is very, again, very self-explanatory. Keith Blackburn at the beginning of the meeting at public participation gave an opening speech on it. Tony, before I move to the committee, do you wish to speak on this at all?
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I want to say is about item 3 that's recommended, and that's that council officers, well, me and a couple of others, will have to take responsibility for this gate, which we're happy to do. This is very much, again, like the Bonningstat wall, this needs a flood risk permit, and part of getting that will be demonstrating to the Environment Agency that we've got processes in place that when there is the chance of a storm or a chance of flooding, we will close and lock that gate, which we pretty much presented in appendix, whichever it is, appendix B with this report.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I suppose it's just that the councillors are happy that we're, you know, that it'll be sort of added to, well, certainly my work description, that this will be one of my responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm obviously happy to do.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. I'm opening up to the committee. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Any questions? Councillor Walraven, your hand is still showing. Would you like to say something, please?
No, I haven't got my hand up.
Oh, we can see it. Okay, no worries. Anybody else, would they like to ask any questions? Councillor Honeyman, Richard Honeyman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dunn. Yes, thank you for letting me speak again as a non-committee member. It's nice to see the detail. But yeah, are you worried that there's no official crossing where it's going to be in any way, and you know, like a zebra crossing or open crossing? Does that worry you at all?
Thank you.
Tony, is regarding the financial implication for us as council, your time really, isn't it?
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Honeyman mentioned about the crossing, lack of a zebra crossing. I don't feel it being too much of a risk because there's quite a wide pavement to the land side of the esplanade where people can walk opposite the crossing, which is one of the reasons it was chosen. Who knows, in years to come, maybe it could be a zebra crossing. It'd certainly be a good spot to have one.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, Tony. Anybody else in the committee wish to say anything? Doesn't seem to be. I would just like to add that I do support this, me personally, because I mean, I don't visit this, due to my health, I don't visit the seafront as much as I used to, especially not in the winter now. But many, many years visiting, I saw how many people did struggle, either trying to climb the wall or having to go all the way around from the Dame Road entrance or the other entrance. And if you're a young mum with loads of children, that's difficult because the facilities there to cross the road are not very good. And to walk all the way up the other end is a bit of a nightmare, especially through the winter. So I do welcome this gate, and I hope that the committee, you know, feel the same. So, but again, it's an individual preference and choice. So we have 3 recommendations. Would you as a committee like me to take all 3 together, or would you prefer I take them separately? Tony, do you wish to say something? So,
excuse me, Chair. Yes, sorry, Councillor Meek had his hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Councillor Meek.
That's all right. I've obviously put my hand up when you looked down, which wasn't very helpful.
Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, will there be signage so that people are aware that there's an access point there from the beach? Because otherwise, people who don't know won't be aware. I just don't know how you would do that, but you know, where you would put signage, but it needs to be made apparent to people, if there is that access point, that it is there.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Meek. Tony, have you got a response to that, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and I can see Keith was nodding through that. This gate is part of a wider project of, as Keith mentioned earlier, about bringing people from the beach to the town and vice versa. And part of that is going to be signage actually painted on the pavements between where the gate is and to the town, and also signage boards on the seafront as well. So yes, it will be. It'll be like a natural route from the town. Okay,
thank you, Tony. So before I move on, so I don't miss anybody else. Okay, as I said, we have 3 recommendations. We've got number 1, note the contents of the report. 2 is consider recommending the installation of a storm gate on Seaford Promenade, subject to agreement from the relevant agencies. And 3, consider approving officers to operate the storm gate during inclement weather where there is a risk of flooding or storms. Now, I'm quite happy to take all three together. Can you just sort of nod if you agree with me? Okay, so we take all three together. Please, could I have a proposer and a seconder? Well, I can propose this, and I'll have Councillor Meek as a seconder. So all those in favour, please raise your hands. I think that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item 7, we have the Salts tennis courts operating models. And again, the committee's got 3 recommendations, but again, before I hand over to the committee, Tony, would you like to, I mean, you mentioned it briefly in your report earlier in the meeting, but I don't know if you want to add anything now before I hand over to the committee.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, hopefully it's quite self-explanatory, but we've always thought with these courts as part of the business plan that we would lease out court hours to a coach to obviously do coaching and hopefully social events and you know, schooling and whatever. But we're also approached by another coach that said, you know, I wouldn't mind running the whole thing for you, taking all the courts off you, all the bookings and everything, and paying you a fixed fee per year. And we talked to the LTA about it, the Lawn Tennis Association, and they said, well, some people do this. This is another model. So it's just really that councillors note both models and, you know, give us the delegated authority to choose which one is the best for us, basically, for the tennis courts.
Lovely. Okay, thank you, Tony. So I'd open up to the committee. Is there any questions regarding this agenda item? No, doesn't seem to be. No. Okay, so we have 3, as I said, recommendations. We have 1, note the contents of the report. 2, in order for the Town Council to be equipped to properly assess the options available, approve the advertisements of a community tennis tender for proposal from external businesses to fully manage and run the new tennis courts planned to be built in 2021, referred to as option 1 within the report. And 3 is delegate to the Town Clerk, in consultation with the Chair of Community Services Committee and the Finance and General Purposes Committee, the authority to select the most appropriate of the 2 options detailed in this report following the community tennis tender process being undertaken as per recommendation 2, and analysis of the 2 options. So again, if the committee do not have any reason not to, I'll take all 3 together. So please, could I have a proposer and a seconder? Okay, we've got Councillor Everton as the proposer, and seconder we've got Councillor Hayder. Thank you very much. All those in favour? I think that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 8. This is the Fields in Trust programme. We are to consider instructing officers to research the possible registration of the Salts, the Crouch, Marcello Fields and protected spaces with Fields in Trust. Again, I'll open up to Tony first. Do you have anything to add to this, Tony, before I open up to the committee?
No, I don't, Chair.
No, okay, lovely. So do I have any questions from the committee? Oh, no, okay. I just want to add that because we've got the 2 recommendations.
Sorry, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Honeyman's got a hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Honeyman. Yes, you did mention you wanted to speak at this. I do apologise. Sorry. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me speak. Yes, I wanted to, I'd like to support the Fields and Trust programme. I was in conversation with a resident about this sometime in the autumn, hence luckily why we've got it on the agenda, because it was something that is very important to the local residents, that we try and protect as much green spaces as we can in Seaford. So this was a suggestion put forward by a resident about making certain areas a fields of trust. So I'm really glad that the Community Services Committee has got this on the agenda and it can actually be discussed. There are many places, if you go on the Fields of in Trust website, there's many local places around here. There's lots in Eastbourne that have had the deeds of dedication done. And as it says in here on their website, in a nutshell, protection is a legal agreement between Fields and Trust and the space's landowner that they will retain it for use as a green space, used as a public park, playing field or recreation ground in perpetuity. Yeah. So I would, this is something that I think could be good to help protect as much as we can in Seaford, as obviously Seaford is under pressure to build on as many spaces as possible. So we need to protect what we can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Honeyman. Anybody else? Councillor Walraven.
Yes, I totally support this. I think we need to protect all our green spaces as we are short of them as it stands at the moment, and I think any protection is vitally needed. So I certainly support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Walraven. Councillor Hayder, thank you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I want to support that as well, and Olivia and Linda, because we got some email about and how much we can save our green spaces. We should do it. I support that. Okay, and we got some. I think everybody got as well. We got some email about this from Seaford resident. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hayder. Anyone else? No. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm also in supportive of this. I mean, I did at the time work on the neighbourhood plan, and at the time that we believed, the Green Spaces Group really truly believed that any RE1, which was the protection of the salts, or any recreational land was safe in basically perpetuity, but with planning reform and obviously lack of space and needing more housing, we do risk losing the small amount of green spaces that we do have in Seaford. And it was shown that we lack space in Seaford compared to other towns and cities that we're actually under the recommended amount. So I am completely in favour of this. And as Councillor Hayder pointed out, we have received many emails in support of this. So again, yes, it's very good, and that we look after what we have got. But as I said at the beginning, we've got 2 recommendations, but I would like to add, if possible, that maybe we do it to, I mean, Georgia, if you could advise, I'd like to add that we make a proposal that we contact Lewes District Council to request the same from them for the Fields in Trust for the 2 spaces of the Downs and Walmer Road. I mean, I'd like to make that as a proposal. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Please, oh, Councillor Mead, thank you very much. So, Georgia, how can I add that in? Do I add it into recommendation 1? I don't make it a 3rd recommendation. Can I do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a proposal that's got a seconder, so it would be a 3rd recommendation. I mean, I don't know, obviously, if you want to open it to the committee or the officers to comment on at all, but yeah, it would be a separate recommendation there.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So I have got a seconder, which is Councillor Meek. Does anybody would like to add to my proposal? No. Tony, would you like to say anything to that? Are you happy with this?
Happy with that? No. Fine, thanks.
Okay,
Chair.
all right, lovely. So we've got 3 recommendations now. So we've got recommendation 1 is to instruct officers to research protected green space status for the salts, recreational grounds, the Crouch and Muttler Fields through the Fields in Trust programme. Recommendation 2 is to agree that if recommendation 1 is carried, this work is carried out as part of the work for the Assets Working Group feasibility studies being conducted on those sites. And now the new recommendation, my proposal with the seconder for Councillor Meek, is to contact Lewes District Council to request the same Fields in Trust for Walmer Road and the Downs Leisure Centre. So please, could I have for all those 3, could I now have our proposal 3, could I have a seconder to those, please? Councillor Hayder, thank you very much. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Oh, lovely. Okay, carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have now agenda item 9. This is Seafront Water Sports Concession Proposal for the Community Services Committee to consider whether to approve a proposal from Skipper Water Sports to include jet ski hire and a mobile trailer selling water sports equipment and accessories. And we do have one recommendation. Tony, I mean, the concession individuals already spoke of public participation. Do you have anything to add at this point?
I think I'm going to have to ask Georgia. Thank you, Chair. First, I think asking Georgia whether we need to split the recommendation into two, in that we treat the jet ski hire as one thing and the mobile trailer selling water equipment as another thing. If that's okay, if we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no problem splitting that, and it seems logical given kind of how the discussion's been so far on that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open up to the committee.
Sorry, Chair, could I just say what I want to say, whatever people's views on the jet skis, I will say that the service that the concession has done so far and the way they've ran the concession so far has been very, very good, and we've been very happy with it. They work with the lifeguards, they work with our health and safety inspector, and you know, they did a great job and they were very popular, not last year obviously, but the year before. So so yes, they're, you know, safety wise and whatever, I have no problems with them at all. They did a good concession.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Councillor Everton, your hand, please.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say that the gentlemen that do the water sports down there, everyone that I know that has used their services have said how great they are and how safe they are. They've come here tonight to put their case forward. They've clearly taken on board the safety issues that people have and concerns that they have, and they've really put a lot of thought into it. And so I do want to say to them that I do appreciate how professional your outfit is, how much thought you put into making sure that the use of jet skis is safe. But for me personally, and the feedback I've present their views as well, is that Seaford Beach isn't the place for jet skis, and it's not really something that residents that have spoken to me would like to see down at the beach. So that's, you know, I have to take that into consideration, but you know, anything that I would say about it isn't a reflection of how I think you manage the business. I think that you do very well.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Councillor Everton. Councillor Hayder, your hand was raised.
Yes, yeah, I agree with Morag. His business was nice, everything, people enjoy. Last two young men, they've done very good job, everything. But we all know some of our residents who got the beach hut in Bonstead from yet, they are not happy about this. But we should think about that. Yeah, it's very nice. I'm not against that, but it's not right place is there to put it, because some of they bought the beach hut, and we don't want to destroy their tranquility and peace, because they want to peace good time. And lots of Seaford residential people are complaining about that. I think Morag probably know it, and some of people. That's why I'm happy to accept it, but not on that part of Seaford. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hayder. Councillor Deal, you had your hand up.
Everybody, I am now. Yes. Good evening. Yes, similar emails being counter. You know, when residents are concerned, they come to you to resort. So yes, I've also some emails, and the issue is the privacy issue, and they would not like their privacy to be invaded by the children and new people coming around and using the loo especially as well. It has been a case that since the Martello have not been developed as yet, people are still concerned, and they're saying if they are base there. They're going to be using their then facilities for changing and whatsoever. So there is and they would not really recommend that this to be made on that particular spot, provided if we have a plan, if we do, they must have a consideration while this must have been discussed, that why we would like the ski to go that part of the beach. Why not the other side where you know, one side which is all clear, there's no construction, no built up, it's quite raw, and the sailing club is also there. So I mean, location wise, I would like to also wonder why was this spot considered in the first place? So what was in the mind? You know, before we approve anything, it would be nice to logic behind putting this on that side where some of the residents, especially one of my friend as well, she had emailed me. They're there for 3 years now, and she mentioned that when they were sold this beach hut, they were told that this is for their priest time and holiday time and their free time, so they can have their own private you know, vicinity area where nobody will be opposing or interfering much. So having this public entertainment there, which is of course a brilliant idea, brilliant for Seaford Beach again, but not on this take where other residents are not happy about it. So yes, not opposing it, I would myself want to ask the question that why have we considered this a spot and why not the other part of the beaches? If the facility has to be constructed, there should be infrastructure in before posing any proposal. We should know what and what cannot be done. So knowing that we had residents there and their personalized beaches there, why did we even think about having that there? So if they satisfies me with the answers, I would be able to take this back to the residents. And if it's valid, definitely we can reason with them. But if it's not valid, it's a question mark for me as well. It's a niche. I would not prefer letting it go or be approved like that. That's my thought.
Thank you, Councillor Deal. Before that question's answered, Tony, can I just take the question from Councillor Everton? Councillor Everton?
Yeah, sorry that with the comments about it being in a different location, I have to say that what residents have expressed to me is they don't want jet skis anywhere along Seaford Beach, that it's a tranquil, quiet place. We don't have, even at the height of summer, we don't have sort of, it's not a noisy beach. We don't have the sound of motors, we don't have music, we don't blaring out anything like that. And it's just, you know, for me, this is not, we are a lovely seaside town and this is not the place for jet skis. That's my personal opinion, but I'm happy to say that most residents that have spoken to me are of the same opinion. It's not about whether they should go there, it's about whether they should be in Seaford at all. And a lot of people that I've spoken to don't feel that it's a facility we should have at all.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Councillor Everton. Councillor Meek, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I actually support everything that's been said so far. And that's not to say that I'm against young people having good ideas and trying to build business for us on the seafront, which I think is a great thing to do. But as has been said, it's horses for courses. I mean, I think it's a great idea if you want to do safaris, but basically a jet ski is like a motorbike on water. So in a way, why would people want to go on a safari in a sedate way on a jet ski? Why, if they're going to have to go along slowly at only 25 miles an hour and they're not allowed to kind of skidoo all around the place, I don't see the point of being on a jet ski. You might as well be running a nice kind of sedate cruise to go and look at the Seven Sisters and the Cuckmere Haven, which people could go and look at the bird life, they could go look at nature, but they don't have to be on a jet ski. But I mean, all strength to you for wanting to run business, and I think that's great, and I would support you on all the other things you do, as long as it doesn't have motors attached and possibility of diesel leakage and things like that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Meek. Anybody else? Councillor Edson. Good evening.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm considering the fact that we persuaded people to part with quite a bit of money for the beach huts, and I think that their wishes should be taken into consideration, and we should keep our beach as tranquil as we can possibly get it. It's a good idea, but not here, not here. And I agree with Councillor Meek what he said. You know, if it's important enough to go and view these places, yeah, there's a pleasure boat could do the same thing, and he's quite right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Edson. Councillor Honeyman, Richard Honeyman. Thank you.
Chair. As I'm not on your committee, just a couple of points. I assume it was approved by the councillors for the 2019 season, so it would have come back to this committee then. Is that I've seen that was all a yes, was it, at that stage? And another thing, Seaford's not necessarily tranquil at a weekend. You've got to think of some of the events on a pre-pandemic year, maybe down on both the Salts and Martello Field. So there are events on there, not necessarily all quiet, and we do have certain entertainments around the Martello Tower area. So I wouldn't totally say that everything's tranquil as though you're in the middle of the Lake District or something, or a nice Devon Cove, you know, where it maybe is. So I think you've got to get a little bit of a balance there. So I wouldn't mind some feedback about what happened in Seaford prior to the 2019 season. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, can you answer Councillor Honeyman, please?
No, I would agree with Councillor Honeyman. It's quite a tranquil place, but if you want it that tranquil, we would have to close off Bonningstat and not let people walk along the front of it. I mean, it's the less crowded part of Seaford, the seafront, you know, which is great, but ultimately there's going to be a lot of visitors walking up and down from there. Just to touch on the point of the location of the water sports concession, it's a great location, and it didn't seem to bother anybody when it was down there a couple of years ago. I take on board the point about the toilet, where they used the toilet for changing and whatever, and as officers we jumped straight on that, and we made it that the toilet is only for beach hut owners only, and that's it, and that's what it will be going forward. But as for the location, I think it's a perfect location for it.
Thank you, Tony. For me to just add, this is not personal. I've taken on board everybody, whatever, all the comments, and I agree with all the comments. For me, are those beach hut owners, the publicity that we put out to sell those beach huts was to enjoy unspoilt tranquility. And to say another part of the leaflet was Bonningstat Parade is a hidden oasis, ideal place to relax away from the busier beaches of Brighton and Eastbourne. And that is not what we are. We are not a Brighton and we're not an Eastbourne. And if you want that kind of hustle and bustle, there are jet skis in Eastbourne. They're privately owned. They're not run by companies, so you can't hire them. And they do only stick between the downs, the out edge of the downs and the pier, and just beyond that where there is no wildlife. It's always a very busy part of the beach anyway, because that's where all the concessions are, and it just seems to suit down there, but there's only one or two because they're privately owned. And I agree with what Councillor Meek said. You know, I thought about that if you want to view wildlife and look at the beauty of the Seven Sisters and the wildlife, and we do have a lot of wildlife. We have the Kittiwake colony that is very important to us. You know, a pleasure boat going up and down would be much nicer and much more pleasant. So unfortunately, I'm not in agreement with this proposal, but it is not personal. It's just I am very worried about the impact that it will have on our seafront. Now we've got this one sorry, has anybody else got any other questions just before I move on? We've got a recommendation to consider whether to approve a proposal from an existing water sport concession, Skipper Water Sports, to operate jet ski hire. So that's one recommendation, because Tony asked if we could split this. And then there's the second one, to have the mobile trailer selling water sport equipment. I take it that if we don't approve one, there wouldn't be any point to 2. I don't know. I'm not sure how to do this. Georgia, can I have your advice on this? To take the vote, I think we need.
Sorry, excuse me, Chair. Sorry to interrupt. I think I obviously the concession can't speak, but I think there would be still a call for a shop and a trailer, because you know they'll be selling beach items, wetsuits, towels, and that sort of thing. So it's not, you know, just related to the jet skis.
Right. Okay, so we've got the 2 recommendations. The mobile trailer selling the water sports equipment is going to be a second recommendation. Georgia, the advice I'm asking is that I'd like to take a recorded vote on this. I think it's quite important rather than just a show of hands. Do we just, well, I know we're going to need a proposal and a seconder. So if we go forward with that and then we do a yes or no vote to it, is that what you recommend?
Yeah, if that's the way, if you're requesting a recorded vote, I think get the proposal and seconder first on that first recommendation, then we'll do the recorded vote, then we take the second recommendation.
Lovely. Okay, so you've heard what Georgia has said, so please could I have a proposer? Oh no, nobody wants to propose this. So if we don't have a proposer, oh, Councillor Walraven, so you're proposing, do I have a seconder? Oh, Councillor Hayder. So we have this proposal and seconder to consider whether to approve a proposal from the existing water sports concession, Skipper Water Sports. So as it's going to be a recorded vote, please could you say yes, you approve it? No, you don't. Over to you, Georgia. Thank you.
Sorry, I just need 1 second. I wasn't expecting a recorded vote, so I've just got to get prepared. Sorry.
That's okay.
Chair, sorry, can I just be clear which of the 2 proposals we're currently doing?
Yeah, we're doing the first one, Adam, which is to consider whether to approve a proposal from an existing water sports concession, Skipper Water Sports, to operate jet ski hire.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure we're clear.
Yeah,
which bit
that's the
you're voting on.
first one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I just double check? Adam, are you happy that I'm doing this, or would you rather do this as proper officer?
I'm happy to delegate that to you, Georgia.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just read through the names in alphabetical order then. So if you could just say for, against, or abstained on the recommendation regarding the jet ski hire only.
Yeah.
So Councillor Adil?
I will abstain.
Councillor Dunn?
Against.
Councillor Edson?
Against.
Councillor Everton?
Against.
Councillor Ali Hayder?
Against.
And Councillor Rathnuma Hayder?
Against.
Councillor Meek?
Against.
And Councillor Walraven?
Against. Georgia, may I vote?
Oh, sorry, Jean. Oh,
I'm
Councillor
against.
Cash. Yes, sorry. Thank you very much. So that's an against. So that's not carried then, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we move on to the second half of the proposal, which is to approve a mobile trailer selling water sports equipment and accessories, as well as their usual trade of hiring kayaks and stand-up paddleboards. Again, please could I have a proposal and a seconder for this? So I've got Councillor Edson proposing, I've got Councillor Everton as seconder. Thank you. So I think we could can we do a recorded vote on this one as well? I think we need to, as we did it on the one. Thank you, Georgia.
So we'll just do the same again, then I'll just go through alphabetically. So it's for, against, or abstained for the approval for the mobile trailer with the concession. So Councillor Adil?
I'm for it.
Councillor Cash?
For.
Councillor Dunn?
For.
Councillor Edson?
For.
Councillor Everton?
For.
Councillor Ali Hayder?
For.
Councillor Rathnuma Hayder?
For.
Councillor Meek?
For.
And Councillor Walraven?
For.
Thank you. So that's carried, Chair.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Moving on to, we have now agenda item 10. We have the Ouse Valley and Tide Mills Reserve project. Before I open up to Charlie Grimble, Tony, would you like to add anything to this at any point, or even Adam, if you either of you'd like to speak on this before I do open it up to Charlie and then the committee?
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm happy for Charlie to take it away.
Okay, and the same with you, Adam. Do you wish to add anything to this?
I mean, to be honest, I think the report and the paper covers what needs to be said ahead of any further discussion, if that makes sense. I've nothing to add at this stage.
Okay.
And as I say, we'll enable Mr. Grimble to briefly introduce before councillors get the opportunity to question and discuss.
Yeah, okay, right. So I'm going to open up to Charlie to give an introduction to this project. I would then suspend with a vote, because I'll put it to the committee for vote, to suspend standing orders to allow you and for Charlie to answer any questions you have regarding this report. I will then reinstate standing orders and then we can vote on the recommendations. So over to you, Charlie. Thank you very much. Oh, you're on mute.
I shouldn't test your lip reading facilities. Thank you, Chair. The report was written in November for a number of audiences. It is fairly self-explanatory, but obviously things have moved on, so I just want to bring out some salient points relevant to Seaford Town Council in particular. The paper sets out a vision that for Seaford will enhance its green credentials and respond to climate change strategy, supported by the National Lottery bid, which has been successful. The second point is by envisioning the quadrupling of the size of the Ouse Estuary Nature Reserve so that it covers the entire area from the Denton roundabout to the sea and from the Newport access road to the A259. We will be creating an opportunity to increase the visitor attraction to Seaford. By involving 14 local voluntary groups already, we will be developing our grassroots capabilities and capacity for similar projects in the future. By involving all 4 primary schools and Seaford Head, we will be able to develop greater awareness of climate change issues for the next generation. And finally, the enlargement of the Ouse Estuary Nature Reserve will also offset the erosion of important recreational space, which we have already touched on in this agenda elsewhere this evening. The report was presented to Newhaven Town Council's Regeneration and Strategic Development Committee on Tuesday of this week and was warmly received there and approved. Discussions are taking place with Lewes District Council members and officers on how to move this forward in the light of their bid for £24.7 million announced yesterday. This proposal before you complements that bid perfectly. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to now, thank you, Charlie. I'd like to suspend standing orders. Could I have a show of hands? Georgia, do I need a proposer and a seconder for that, or do I just have a show of hands?
To suspend standing orders, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can do that as chair.
Oh, I can just do that. I don't have to have the committee vote on it. Oh, right. Okay. So as chair, I'm going to suspend standing orders to allow the committee now to ask any questions for Charlie to answer, or even Tony or Adam. Anybody would like to ask any questions, please? Oh, Councillor Meek, thank you.
Charlie, I just wondered, does this whole project depend on getting agreement from the present landowners, like farmers and people who own the agricultural land there, that they have to come on board with this, otherwise it doesn't work? Or is there some kind of other way of doing this? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Meek. Yes, it does. But in order to make that approach, first of all, I felt it was really important for all landowners to get a sense as to how those authorities with the strategic responsibility of care for their communities felt about it first. If it was just a proposal proposed by the Seaford Community Partnership, for example, then it would not have the same sort of force. But I believe that with everything that was approved in the neighbourhood plan, with everything that is happening on climate change and so on, that there is a very good case. But nevertheless, if the local authorities do not support this, then quite clearly that is a major obstacle to then convincing the landowners who own land outside the public sector to come on board.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? No, I can't see anything. Charlie, I've got a couple. You did mention at the beginning of this meeting that we all both know with the neighbourhood plan that Tide Mills was entered as a green space and was failed due to the fact of the criteria, the extensive tract of land, which I think if you can sort of decide how long is an extensive tract of land, is that how long is a piece of string? And unfortunately, the examiner, for those of the committee, it failed and was removed along with Grand Avenue. But with what this proposal and this project, Charlie, does Tide Mills get any sort of any other sort of total protection by doing this?
At the moment, my camera seems to freeze every now and again, which is why I go from moving picture to
moving screen.
It's not I'm disinterested, I'm highly interested, it's just technicals. So at the moment, Tide Mills is a local wildlife site. And in the appendix, and to my mind, Councillor, when we were looking at Tide Mills, I was unaware of this, but it's a status that's been there since 1999, or 1993. It seems to be one of Seaford's best kept secrets, but nevertheless, its status of protection is pretty weak. It is not as strong as if it was a nature reserve in the sense that the Ouse estuary. So the strategy is to increase the protection by giving it the same status as the Ouse Estuary Nature Reserve. So that will be a major step. If then it passes into public ownership, the earlier resolution that you made regarding fields in trust obviously comes into play. But that I envisage in the discussions that I've had with Lewis, with Seaford officers and with New Haven officers, that the intention would be, for example, that the Port Authority that owns Tide Mills at the moment would transfer the land to New Haven in its entirety, and that a group board involving Seaford, Lewis and New Haven would be set up to oversee, if you like, the control and management of that land.
Right, okay, yeah, because that brings me to the second question I had, was that if we're going to put it all under one ownership, an authority, who would that be? And are you saying that would be New Haven?
Well, in talking to them, that does seem to be the best. East Sussex County Council is transferring the Ouse Estuary Nature Reserve to New Haven Town Council this year. The negotiations are very well advanced and are expected to be done by the summer, COVID and all that lot permitting. So it does make sense. It also makes sense if we are going to talk seriously about flood alleviation works, which doesn't impact so much on Seaford as a town, but it certainly does on New Haven and Lewis.
Yes, absolutely.
And so unity of ownership means easier deliverability of that service.
Right, okay. And then from that, a board would be brought into fore where we as a town council and others could sit on this board to input on the management of this project. Is that
that is how I see, if you like, the democratic process being observed on what is effectively an asset for all the lower Ouse communities, Denton, Southampton, Newhaven and Seaford and Bishopstone.
Because I think we'd like to know that obviously with this project that as we are landowners ourselves, that we do have and that we're kept up to date and continue in that vein so that we understand what's happening to our piece of land. So that's important, I think, as well.
But this is me, a non-accountable retired person, making proposals that really, as I say, are in your hands to take forward as you want best.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Charlie. Councillor Walraven, yes.
Thank you, Chair. We're talking about tide mills, and obviously you're aware that tide mills is in South Downs National Park. I don't know how much you're aware that, you know, with the new railway bridge which is going over the crossing, which has been passed by the South Downs National Park, and that is going to incorporate a viewing area at the bridge.
Yeah. No, exactly right. And I see the Port Access Road, which raises everyone up over the Mill Creek as well, is another viewing point. It's also another access point to gain access to parts of the Ouse Estuary Nature Reserve that were previously inaccessible. I know this because I've tried my bike to go around what used to be Pargut, which is a terrible route. But as I say, anything that improves accessibility, viewability, it will be a good thing for residents and visitors alike.
Okay. Anything else? Did you want to add anything else, Councillor Walraven?
Well, there was just a tweak on the proposal on item 3.
Yep.
You've got Marine Drive and it should be Marine Parade.
Sorry, where's this? Is this in the recommend? Sorry, where are we? Where are we? Where are you looking?
You are absolutely right. Thank you, Councillor Ward.
Oh, okay.
That someone who's only lived here for 5 years.
Marine Drive is north of.
Yeah, no, it's Brookery Hill. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Councillor Walraven. Yeah, I would have spotted that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Meek, thank you.
Chair, this isn't really a question, but I just wanted to say, as chair of the Climate Change Working Party, I feel we ought to support this, all of this kind of proposal, the whole idea behind it. It certainly does, it feeds directly into the climate change alleviation strategies. It's feeding right into the flood defences, flood alleviation, nature, biodiversity, everything. So I would hope that council will support this. I'd also like to, I think we ought to thank Charlie for a huge amount of work, and also for really an amazing kind of initiative to come up with. And I know he's worked hard with all the different authorities and people to try and make this happen. So I have to say, you know, it's a huge bit of work. I think it deserves our recommendation and our support. So thank you very much, Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Meek. Yes. Okay. I'd like to just say that if we could note in the minutes our thanks to Charlie for this report and the extensive work that the Seaford Community Partnership have done. So if that's okay, Georgia. I'm now going to read, as long as there's no other questions, which I can't see any hands. So I now will reinstate standing orders for us to move to the recommendation. So the committee's recommended to, we have 4. We have, which I think we could take all together, but I will read them out. So we've got number 1 is note the contents of the report, celebrating 30 years of partnership in the Lower Ouse Estuary, an overview and vision of Seaford Community Partnership as detailed in Appendix A. 2, carefully consider the proposals outlined in Part 3 and the appendix of that document and share their observations when the item is reported to full council for consideration at its meeting in March 2021. 3. Approve town council officers to be involved in the development concept contained within the proposal in cooperation with the Seaford Community Partnership and its partners. And 4. Approve to receive further reports on progress of this project during this year. So I'd like to take all 4 together. I think that would be okay. Could I please have a proposer and a seconder? So I've got Councillor Walraven is proposing. I've got Councillor Edson for seconder, and show of hands please as all of those in favour, and that's carried. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. I'm not sure what the time is. If Georgia could note the time please. That's the end of this meeting, and I'd like to thank you all, including the residents, for attending this evening's meeting. Thank you very much.